Hi, my name is Roy Collin and welcome to the show. I've also got five podcasts: The Awakening Podcast, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions; the Crypto Podcast, on about all things blockchain, NFTs, crypto; the Meditation Podcast, talking about all different types of meditation, but there's also meditations there from 1 minute to 2 hours. And the other one's the Learn Polish Podcast. So if you're interested in learning Polish, you can do that. And the other one is Speaking with Roy Collin. And I just have guests from around the world talking about either public speaking or also about their book or just general life in general. And you'll find everything on bio.link/podcaster. I'm also a podcasting coach. And you see the QR code there, and it's also on my link as well. And if you're interested in actually going on some podcast shows, I'm helping people doing that. Or if you're interested in sponsorship, you can contact me. And I'd like to thank my sponsor, DanielPacker.com. He helps people with anxiety, stress, and addictions. He's got a 90% success rate, and you only pay if you're successful. So be sure to check him out, DanielPacker.com. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Welcome to the Crypto Podcast. You can find all our episodes on thecryptopodcast.org. My guest today, blockchain maximalist, who believes and endorses the power of decentralization and community-driven initiatives in every sphere of life. He's an entrepreneur, an investor, author, an advisor of a lot of companies, and co-founder of Spare. Please welcome Bandhul Bansal. Did I do it? Did I do it justice?
Yeah, you did it right. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for calling me to your podcast. It's great interacting with people specifically like yours who are doing so much for the industry and creating content and creating awareness, because that is something that we always need as an industry, and you are doing a great job for the blockchain industry as a whole. So a lot of thank you from my side and from the industry as a whole. So I'm always grateful to the content creators who are creating content for the industry.
Thank you very much. And I actually heard last week that in India, the amount of people that are actually using crypto is more than the US and Europe. Like, is that true? That I was kind of shocked that it's a massive amount of people actually starting to use it.
So, in India, we actually have a massive amount of people because we are the largest population in the world at this point of time. So again, so there are a lot of people, and actually the use cases of crypto and Web3 products in India is very huge, because a few years back we got a revolution in India in the internet terms. Now, the internet is very cheap in India, right? And if I'm not wrong, it's one of the cheapest in the world. So the internet access in India is growing at a massive rate from 5 6 years, right? So India, so one thing that we have is we have huge penetration of the mobile phones and the internet services. On the other hand, India is a savings society, right? As Indians, we love to save money, right? So saving is in our culture. We already are living with the concept of fire and financially independent thing. We are always saving. So now, if you're saving so much, then you need to invest it somewhere, right? So people are putting a very small amount of their savings to the Web3 markets to make it big. The other part of this story is we have a lot of developers in hand, because India is the biggest back office for almost all the tech companies in the world. And we produce approximately 1 million engineers every year, right? So 1 million engineers graduate from Indian universities every year. So it's a huge potential for the developer market as well. Now these developers are creating products and advertising it and doing marketing for them. That's why we have got a platform where we can go around and reach out to the people. So combining all these three things: one, we have a large population; secondly, we have a huge penetration of mobile devices and internet services; thirdly, we have a savings culture in our society. So combining these three things to the Web3 market, that's why the investor growth in Web3 in India is very high for the Web3 market. So I believe that's the reason primarily.
Excellent. And I suppose, I mean, you're involved in so much, probably more than anybody that I've spoken to. But I'd like to know your own kind of crypto journey, blockchain journey, how you got into all of this.
Okay, so I'm a serial entrepreneur myself, and I started my entrepreneurial journey back in 2014. I was 18 years old at that point of time. when I started my first company. It was a B2B merchandise company. We used to manufacture, merch for different companies and corporations. For example, Uber Eats was our client, L'Oreal was our client, JP Morgan was our client, and we used to manufacture, hoodies and T-shirts for their executive bodies and for every kind of thing. So that was it. In 2016, it was the first time when I heard about Bitcoin, and I tried something. It didn't work out, and I just bought some Bitcoin back in 2016. That was my first stint with the Web3 market. I was just an investor who bought some Bitcoin. And in 2017 rally, that Bitcoin grew by multiple X and I made good money. So then, like any other newbie, I invested that money into different altcoins and lost it all by 2018. So that was it. In 2019, in the meantime, I'm a reading buff, right? So I love to read, right? So I was reading about what's happening in the space and how this space is growing. For example, one of my favorite books, the Bitcoin Standard. I read that book at that point of time, and I was very convinced of the idea of Bitcoin, that this is going to take over the world, and this can be the next big thing that we are betting on. So I started an education community called FinStreet in 2019. By the end of 2019, we were the largest Web3 education community in the world, and we were the biggest TikTok channel who was teaching people about Web3 by 2020, right, in the world. And, we got massive success via TikTok and our education initiatives in India. And in 2020, India banned TikTok as a product. And so TikTok was out of India by 2020. And then, we built it up on the other platforms, and we scaled that company to the educational products, to the developer markets. And lately in 2021, Finstead got acquired by a group of HNIs, and they wanted to run the company as their own. So I got a good exit, and I decided to take a small break from my entrepreneurial stint and wanted to develop my investor arm in this time frame. So I invested in a lot of companies as an advisor. I worked with them. I worked for various products, and I advised a lot of young entrepreneurs coming out of the ecosystem. Now, in back in 2023, ICP, which is a top 20 project, that is Internet Computer Protocol, reached out to me and they asked that whether I'm interested in running their India hub or not. And it was an excellent opportunity because the technology is very robust, right? And I had experience of marketing different Web3 products and working with different L1s. I worked with approximately 200 blockchain companies in my entrepreneurial career. So it was a very good move to expand a particular L1 in Indian horizon when the L1 is already technically very good. Then I decided to take that role. In the past 6 months, we have conducted more than 80 events, hosted 2 conferences, organized 52 hackathons, onboarded approximately 4,000 developers into the ecosystem, launched more than 800 mainnet products, and still working upon it. Now we're working on the incubator part where we are launching our incubator to help the young entrepreneurs coming out for the ecosystem.
Excellent, excellent. And you're an author. The 44 verdict wealth tax, is that just financial, or is it touching on the blockchain as well?
No, no, it's not touching. There are some chapters. Concept of the book is very simple. This is an async book. That is, you can read book from anywhere. You don't have to go chapter by chapter. So each chapter explores a story of an Indian entrepreneur and the Vedic principles and how they applied that Vedic principle in their entrepreneurial journey and how they made big out of it. So this is the concept of the book. For example, if you it's a kind of a motivational book for the entrepreneurs who want to make it big, specifically for the Indian entrepreneurs, covering a lot of Indian entrepreneur stories and their vision and how they envision is in line with our Vedic principles. So that is the book all about.
Okay, excellent. And like all these different advisory roles, I mean, most of them are fascinating and like unique art. That's a NFT platform, UNIQ ART. Yeah, that
Yeah,
one.
so that's an NFT marketplace built on the Near protocol, and so I have the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is the artist himself, and he's a great indie musician working in the Indian space and wanted to help the other musicians via an NFT marketplace so that he can create a creator economy, not for just for himself, for the other creators as well. And this idea really moved me inside out, and that's why I decided to have them as advisor in their stint. So this is one of the greatest things that I can do, because again, connecting with the creator economy is one of the things that really moves me, as I've already told you in the beginning.
Mm. I suppose, I mean, I want to touch on a few of the ones, but like, there's a few things which kind of say a startup and everything, because sometimes the company, it outgrows the actual founder, that they don't develop at the same level. And two, sometimes what I see as well is they don't like the limelight, they don't like the public speaking. And yeah, you can bring in somebody, but do you have to actually give away a part of the company to have the right person come in that's actually going to be the face of the company?
So again, Roy, that is very important, because if you are an entrepreneur, the company will move forward, and this will go hand in hand. Sometimes you will feel that you want to do a lot of things, but your company would have a bandwidth to support it, because the company is moving unidirectional. It needs focus. At the other times, you will see that now the company has stagnated and it's demanding growth, but you don't have a personal space, or something is happening in your life that you can support your company. So sometimes you will push your company to unlock itself. Sometimes your company will force you to unlock yourself. So it's a very good, hard, and fast relationship with the company and the founder that I see.
Okay. Um, Cryptic Entertainment. What one? Your advisor for that one? Cryptic Entertainment.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting company. Now, what they do is they create infotainment content around Web3 space. For example, they in Hindi, for the Indian audience. So what they do is, for example, they'll create a comic sketch that explains the idea of the risk associated with investing in meme coins, right? So as a novice audience, it's very easier for them to understand this concepts in a very comic and very dramatic way, right? So they don't have to get into high hardcore education just to educate themselves. Now, the education can be done via the infotainment sector as well. So they create web series, they create documentaries, docu-series, they create these comic sketches to educate the audience around it. And they also release it on YouTube, and sometimes they release it on the OTT platforms, which is very fascinating to me as a whole, because you can educate your audience not via direct education. For example, we're doing podcasts. This is one way of educating the audience. Or you can write a book. That's another way of educating the audience, right? Or you may write a blog post. That can be another way of educating the audience. Now, trying to do it while entertaining them is very new, right? So I can create a web series, and there's a drama in that web series, there is comedy in that web series, and while watching that web series, you are enjoying all that drama and comedy, but at the same time you're learning about the risk associated with the meme coins. Now the idea was very fascinating. That's why I invested in that company.
When, like, because you're an advisor to so many different companies and investors, so I'm not sure, are you an investor in all the ones you're an advisor to? But I'm just curious, how do
No,
you
no, I'm
actually?
investor and advisor in all these
Oh,
companies.
okay, okay. So how do you decipher which are the ones to back? Like, what kind of systems have you in place that I think this will work, but this won't?
So we have a team who do the due diligence and the initial checks. And for example, if tomorrow a new startups come in and he wants me as their advisor or investor, what they'll do is they'll onboard, they'll talk to my team, and my team will do the initial checks that whether everything is right or not, whether the numbers are correct or not. And once they are there, then what they will do is they will go ahead and they will forward the company to me, and then I'll do a chat with the founder, and if I see the potential in the idea of the founder, the entrepreneur themselves, then I'll invest and will help them with it. Now the how the advising helps is, for example, they all have access to my Calendly, and they can book whatever slot they want, right, whenever they want. So sometimes I make like we hang out for like maybe some lunches, or maybe sometimes we meet for the dinner. or sometimes they will just book a virtual call on the Calendly, and then we'll chat if something urgent comes up. So this is how we manage our portfolio of the companies.
Okay. And like when you're actually co-founder of a company and advisor, I mean, you've got a lot on your plate. How do you personally organize yourself for the week?
So how do I do it? So I use a technique called time blocking, where I block my calendar for 15-minute time slots generally, right? And so I do a task for 15 minutes, and then I have, for example, on Mondays, what usually do is I catch up with all the departments of my company, right? And on the Saturdays, what I generally do is I catch up with all the companies that I have invested in. So this is how, and in between, I do all the important tasks that I do. So generally, I work on most of the active things from Tuesday to Friday. Monday is set aside for my own company and the other departments that are working within my company. And for Saturday is completely here for the companies that I've invested in. And Sunday is obviously me time, and this is the family time that I do.
Okay, okay. And like the cruise fair, if you could go into kind of more details on exactly what you're kind of doing on that. The
So in
company,
Cruise
you're,
Fair,
yeah.
our motive is to build. Yeah. So Cruise Fair is basically ICP India Hub. That's the name of the company that we're in. It's a so ICP is again an L1 working just like Ethereum, and you can develop a lot of products on top of it, and you can build they have everything on chain, and a very uh dedicated Web3 company that's on the market, and they're like a top 20 project now, and they have one of the best cutting edge technologies in the blockchain space. What we are doing is we are increasing their and we are doing the example. If we have to touch on the developer base, we are conducting hackathons, we are conducting boot camps, developer boot camps, where we teach them development for free if they want to develop on ICP, Internet Computer Protocol. On the other hand, we have programs like incubator program, where if you are an entrepreneur and don't know how to build your company and you need help, then you can enroll in our incubation program, and we will take you through the steps, and obviously we will give you non-dilutive grants as well. You don't where you don't have to give us security, but still you can get some money and you can build your own products. So this is something that we are continuously doing with them. So we are generally focusing on increasing the user base of the products via various conferences and events that we do all around. We are increasing the developer base so that new products should come out of India via hackathons and via ideathons and all these boot camps. And now we are backing up the entrepreneurial mindsets via the incubator program and giving all the resources to them. Then if they need some marketing coach, we will provide them the marketing support. If they need technical support, we will give them the technical support and all kind of things. So this is something that we're doing.
And with the hackathons, is that a way of finding out the best developers or programmers that you can just by based on creating a hackathon?
Absolutely right. You're totally right on this. So hackathons are generally a top of the funnel activity, where what we do is we conduct a lot of first of all, we partner with a lot of universities. We have partnership with 75 universities across India. Then we will conduct some evangelism. We'll do evangelism in these universities via some events or ideathons. And then it comes to the third stage, where we will conduct the hackathons in these universities. While conducting hackathons, will ensure that we run the boot camps along with them so that we can teach these people. And now, as you have already mentioned, we get the best developers from these hackathons, and then we train them, we help them, and we educate them that how they can build their own startup from the idea or from the technical skills that they already have. Then finally they are put down in the incubation process, and we incubate their startups from end to end, and we help them to grow. So yeah, so it's a
Okay.
talent acquisition strategy primarily.
Okay, excellent. And with AI then, how much of that then is actually used in the building of a lot of these companies? Is it a case of you kind of apply the best system that you've got? And because a guy that I know, that a programmer in Ireland, top level position, he was saying his job would be gone in about 2 years' time. So he started getting big into AI because he realized that a lot of the positions, is that something that you're seeing yourselves?
Not really, because again, Roy, my job is a people's job, right? So I have to give you a vision that how and how you can build your company, or whether you can build your company or not, right? So carving an entrepreneur out of a developer, or carving a developer out of a college student, is the job that I do, right? So I have a very people's job, and people like to talk to people, not machines. So my job is pretty secure on that front, because again, it's a people's work. But again, if it's a technician's job, if I was a developer, if I was a graphic designer, if I was a video editor, then I must be afraid, because again, AI can take my job. For example, you are podcasting, right? You're talking to people, you're good at conversations, you make people comfortable. I'm feeling very comfortable talking to you. Now that's the skill that you have. Now it's very difficult for an AI to make me comfortable like you have done it, right? So if I totally believe that if you are in a people's work, if you are in the HR job, right? If you're working with the people for the people, then it's very difficult for AI to take your job. So my job is particularly primarily secure for at least next 5 to 10 years, and I've not seen the future, so can't predict the future on that sense.
Oh, very good. And you mentioned at the start about TikTok, and I wasn't aware it was banned in India, but I know that they are trying to ban it in the US. But what I've heard about in China, it's all educational stuff. And I know that because I start putting some of the stuff out of the podcast on it. I got a load of strikes for silly things. I don't know why, but basically, because if you see a silly dance, you press a button. I don't want to see that. But is it
Right.
not coming back, or is there an alternative in India? Because if you get the educational stuff, for example, I saw a lot of stuff on blockchain and I was learning some stuff from it. So in theory, it can be good, but yeah, when it's pushing the wrong stuff, it can be damaging.
Yeah, so in India there was some problem with the Chinese. The Indian government had some problem with the Chinese government, so it's permanently banned, and it's banned for last 3 years now. So TikTok is not in India, but there are a lot of alternatives that are there in India. For example, YouTube Shorts is there, Instagram Reels is there, right? They work in the similar fashion as TikTok, right? And then we have a lot of local products, local applications that solve this problem, like share chat and everything else. So we have their alternatives in India. That's not an issue. Secondly, there was some problem with the Indian government and the Chinese government. That's why they backed it, because Indian government thought that Chinese government is spying on us and taking some data and misusing that data to some extent. That's why we need, I guess, decentralized systems in place. But again, I don't see it coming back to India on that front. Even I got a channel back in 2020. My channel was what, 140K. I don't know if it's still there. If you can type it, finstreet.in, the channel should be there. It's like long back, and that was the idea that we did it with it. But again, there are new things that are coming up, and on that front. So it's good. And you talked about the educational program on TikTok. So I was one of the members who launched the EduTalk program in India with the TikTok. The EduTalk program was a TikTok's initiative to push educational content on TikTok. So I used to make content on finance and financial education and financial health on TikTok. That's why the so we continued that philosophy, and we took that content and brought it to Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and etc. So yeah, we did there. But again, there's a lot of scope that can be done. But again, since TikTok is a centralized social media platform, so there are a lot of risks involved in that platform. For example, in ICP, we have a platform called Hot or Not. That's a completely decentralized social media platform, works just like TikTok, right? So you can use it, and you don't have to be afraid that my data is taken by any government, because the data is decentralized and nobody owns that data. You are the owner of your own data. You can always build on top of that process.
So, I mean, a lot of people are aware with the FTX and, Gary Gensler in the States kind of getting involved in
Yeah.
the So, like with the regulation, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think they should keep? I mean, everything we see them doing, they're kind of it's like run by the bad boys. But at the same time, when people are losing their fortune through corruption, that's when they want help.
Right. Right. Exactly. Since the centralized systems are always bad. That's why Bitcoin came in the first place. right? It explores the idea of decentralization and how decentralization can help. If the decentralized or holding your own assets is very difficult to you, and the centralized system has to exist in the space, then they need to be regulated, right? So for example, we don't want to see another FTX happening in the ecosystem. If you want to avoid it completely in the future as well, we saw Mt. Gox, right, in the beginning, in 2014, 2015, and then we saw FTX very recently. Now if you don't want these platforms to come regularly, then you have to have some regulations on the centralized platforms. The platforms that are centralized, they have to be regulated in one way or another. But at the same time, the decentralization has to prosper, because that's the core idea of Bitcoin. So I don't think so. I think the decentralized platform will be governed by the code and the mathematics and the computing involved in it. And for the centralized platforms, we need some kind of government intervention and regulations to support the ecosystem. So this is my take on regulations and how these regulations should happen.
And with Bitcoin, because I've heard so many different ideas of who they thought created it, and I'd like to know your take on it.
So yeah, there are a lot of conspiracy theories that who created this. Some is some people are taking names, and people are taking names of the random Japanese number person, and people are saying that it was created by a group of companies, right? And somebody is saying that is one of the co-developers of the Bitcoin itself, or maybe somebody like somebody saying that he created it and he created Bitcoin Cash. I don't want to name his name. Uh, so so there are lot of conspiracy theories around it, but I want to be it hidden, because again, that's the essence of the Bitcoin. You Once you know that okay, the person is white or black, then you will add ethnicities on the top of it. If you know that whether they are in Asian or maybe American, then you will feel a bit lost or a bit connected with it, which I don't want. So it's good as it is. So I don't think so. We need to know who created the Bitcoin. We just need to be thankful. So whoever created it, he created a wonderful product for the humanity.
Very good. And with the different exchanges, because I've seen a bit of kind of corruption in that as well. And what exchange do you think is safer than the others? And is there any wallet that you'd recommend as well? Because I'm hearing of all different wallets as well, and sometimes connected with NFTs as well. That there's a different one.
Um, so for the exchanges part, I would for the Bitcoin, I would rely on blockchain.com wallet. It's very good. Or if you want to hold it in your cold wallet, then Trezor is very good. So I use the Trezor hardware wallet. On the top of it, if you want to hold it in your mobile devices or the hot wallet, MetaMask works just fine, and then you can use Uniswap to swap your assets between the MetaMask wallet.
Okay, okay. And uh, another company there, Kai Foundry. Foundry, I think, is that the name of it? KIO
Yep.
Foundry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might let
So
me know what they do.
Kai Kai Foundry is primarily a dev shop. That is, they are building the tech and the developer products for the other companies, right? So primarily, they are the biggest dev shop for the ICP ecosystem in the world, and they are doing their part by helping a lot of entrepreneurs who are not into tech themselves and but want to develop some tech on their own. So they help them while building this tech, and they're doing a pretty great job. They have a team of around 70 developers, working for them on various products, and they are delivering those products to the world.
Excellent. Listen, thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And I believe with all the different companies as well that you're involved in, perhaps you might, if you're interested, you could get some of the founders of them to come on the show and go into more detail on each one, because they all sound fascinating. You might let people
Sure.
know where they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, surely I'll connect you with the entrepreneurs themselves, and then they can come onto your platform and would love to speak. So surely we'll do it.
Okay, brilliant. And the best place for the listeners to find you?
Um, I'm not very active in the social media, but you can find me on Twitter primarily,
Okay.
Twitter or LinkedIn.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll make sure I'll put the link both of Twitter and LinkedIn on the show notes, both on the audio and the video. Thank you very much, Bandhul.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. So that's all for the Crypto Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on thecryptopodcast.org. Until next week, take care. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, and share with your friends. And you'll find all my shows with the QR code or bio.link/podcaster, as well as my podcast coaching. And I'd like to thank my sponsor, DanielPacker.com, helping people with anxiety, stress, and addictions. He's got a 90% success rate, and you only pay if you're successful. Also, if you'd like to go on a podcasting tour, I can help you do that. And if you're interested in sponsorship, you can contact me on my bio.link/podcaster. Until next week, take care.